So it's now time for our second installment on perfect brows. In the first installment we talked about how to apply brow wax to cover up the brows, and I am in a concealed brow state. And so now you're going to need a few things to really get these perfect brows going. So first things first is you'll want aqua color. So aqua color is a hard cake makeup that is made by a couple of different companies. Kryolan is my favorite. I also have a few versions by MAC. And you'll want that in white and in black, unless you want your brows to be a different color than black, which is totally acceptable. You're an individual. And so what we'll also need is, your regular white face and your powder too. So you can see here I've already got one brow done, and so I wanted to give you the goal, and then now we're going to work on what the other one looks like. So I've got my sponge loaded with my white face, and what I'm going to do now is take that sponge that's already loaded with a little bit of white face and just start dotting it over that concealed brow. And again, you want to be really careful and use a pressing motion to really get that product on there, but you don't want to disturb all of the great work that you've done. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to be doing the brows. I'm not even going to do the whole face. If you wanted to learn about white face, I have a whole other chapter about how to apply white face. And so I really just want to focus on getting this brow covered. And so as you can see here, it's pretty much covered, but not entirely. And that's okay. Because again, I have really dark, coarse brows, and that black is going to show through. So I'm going to take a little bit of translucent powder, or baby powder if you prefer. I've got it in my hand, and then I'm just going to sweep over that brow. And then press the powder in so that they're really set. So again, you can still see the brow under there. You can still see a little bit of the texture, and you can definitely see the color. So next, I'm going to take the white aqua color that I was talking to you about earlier with a brush that I can't seem to find. Perfect. And a little bit of water. So next I'm going to take the aqua color, which I talked to you about earlier, with a brush and a little bit of water. And then this is where I'll go in and really start to conceal that brow. Because now that we've gotten rid of the texture, we are going to get rid of the color. And this is what the aqua color is so great for, is just giving you that final level of concealing on the brow and that little bit of highlight. So you want to let this dry, and then you can begin putting on your brand new brows. So how do you decide where brows go? And this is a question that I get a lot. And then how do you get them on there so that they look smooth and perfect? Well, one technique that I really like to use, and we use this in the beauty industry, it works everywhere for everyone, it's called talking about the golden ratio. So the golden ratio for brows is the same whether they're sister brows that are blown way high or drag brows, because it's how it relates to the shape of your face. And so there's 3 points that you want to measure your brows out for. So let's start with the one that I've already done. So using a brush, you want to rest it against the side of your nose, and look directly into the mirror and go right where your eye begins. And that's where your brow is going to start. So you can see right here, my brow starts right there because it's just a little bit further in because of the shape of my nose. Then the arch of the brow. So whether you like a smooth, like sort of rounded brow like this one here, or like something really archy, which I also do, because brows can really change the character of a face. What you can do then is now keeping the brush resting against the side of your nose, go through the iris of the eye, and that's where the arch of your brow should be. And then finally, keeping the brush resting against your nose, go by the outside of your eye, and that's where your brow should optimally end. Now, can you play with these proportions? Absolutely. If you feel like your eyes are maybe close set, like you feel a little Sarah Jessica Parker, you can extend the brow further out on this proportion to help pull the brows outward and help pull the face open. If you feel like your eyes are really wide set, you can also draw your brows in closer together. It's not an absolute, but it's a really great guideline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of eyeshadow here. I'm going to take the darkest color with a tiny little eyeshadow brush. You won't always need to do this. You'll eventually be able to draw the golden proportion freehand. I know I can, but it's come after years of practice. So what you can do then is take your shadow brush, and now I've got a little dot right there where I know that I want my brow to begin. Now that's a little higher than where the other one is, so let's alter that a little bit. And so we know that's the beginning of my brow, somewhere in that neighborhood. So then we're going to do the arch of the brow using the same shadow. And what I'm going to do is just go through the iris there. Looking at the other brow, I see where the arch is, and I can make that dot as well. And you can see it, it's really, really faint, so let's do it again, but make it a little more intense. There we are. And then finally the end of the brow. And this is really great practice and also really good for everyday life. So now you can see the 3 points and see how it balances with the brow that I've already drawn. There you go, and there you have it. Now for me to do brows, what I really like to do my brows with is I like to use a pointed liner brush. So something like this little guy right here, you can see, and it's got a really flexible tip. And I'm going to use it with water and my black aqua color. I like to get it kind of to a thick liquid consistency. Not really runny, because you don't want your brows to run, and they'll also be kind of sheer if you add too much water. So I like to work it into a bit of a paste. And so now I can go in and make my brow match the other one. And so whenever I do this brow, of course, I'm right-handed, so it's much easier. So one technique I like to use when doing this brow is to really cross my arm over. So you can see that I'm working completely across myself, and then my mirror is on the other side. And what that does is it provides me a level of stability because my arms are kind of holding on to one another. And that can be one of the hardest challenges, is getting your non-dominant eye to be perfect. One technique that I really suggest, and I didn't do it today, but I would have you do it, is start with the one that you're worst at. Because you can always make the one that you're best at match it. What can be really hard is if you do this brow perfectly and then try and match the one that's more difficult, it can be a real problem. So again, I'm going to crisscross my arms, and I know that my brow starts right there. And I'm going to aim, looking at the brow that I've already done, at that area where I saw that my arch wanted to be, with that point right there, and then sketch to where the end of the brow is. So now I've got them on there, and they look reasonably symmetrical, but now I can thicken it up in places to help balance it out. So I see that I might want to add a little bit underneath there, and a little bit on top. And then now I can go through and perfect that brow. See, there we go. So we've got two brows that look reasonably the same. So I can add a little bit to this one to make them a little bit more symmetrical. And there we go. I'm going to add a little bit more to this one to make them even more symmetrical. So now I've got these little points on my brows that I want to hide. I'll go back with my brush with my white Krylon Aqua color, and I can now erase those little shadow marks and give my brow an excellent highlight while I'm at it. You can even clean up any mistakes that you may have made with your brow product. So there you go. And then finally, I like to use, this is my Sister Contour palette, and we'll talk about contour in another chapter, but I like to finish off with a little bit of the matte white eyeshadow that's in this palette, and I scrub up a bunch of it. And I like to go over this area of the arch of my brow, just again to even hide any semblance of a shadow of a brow. We'll talk about the uses for matte white eyeshadow later. There are so many, but this is one of the chief among them. And now I have perfectly concealed brows, and they can move, and you can't see any of the brow underneath. So there you have it. Please leave any questions or techniques that you have in the comments section, and I'll see you in the next chapter.